especially Bush, Henley Park, getting in here really close. Our area of rotation would be right around there, but we're looking in between radars, which gets harder and harder. So again, this is our velocity product where we're watching wind speeds move to and from. That rotation right along 95, it's drifted a little bit farther north. Earlier it was closer to 7 and 40. If there is spin, if there is a tornado there, this certainly looks like it's spinning right around 95, tracking northeast. This is getting close to the end of the warning. We've got about 5 minutes left for the tornado warning. The question is, if it still looks healthy enough, likely a new warning will come. We haven't seen evidence of a tornado here yet visually, but I don't think we're going to. It's going to be really tough inside a storm like this with the amount of rain that we have falling inside this. It's what we call a rain-wrapped tornado, not to mention this late at night. Visibility going to be a big problem here with the frequent lightning strikes continuing. Maybe that'll light it up. We sometimes look for power flashes. Speaking of which, Kevin, did any numbers come up there from any power outages that we're seeing? Over 100 power, okay. Not bad, over 100, it's about 103. Like to see that. Here's our radar update. Let's check that camera one more time. That rotation, if it is in there, has got to be really close to where we were looking from Abington on our traffic camera. Maybe wind picking up a little bit there. Certainly still a lot of lightning and rain. The black and white image makes it a little tough to pick out any kind of detail, but storm getting close to there. There's a look from the ground that we're keeping a close eye on. Actually, we got to flip back over to radar because I have a new tornado warning in effect now. You remember that storm we were just talking about? Let me give you a reference here. I was just looking at that area of rotation on the southern end of this, and sure enough, tornado warning came out for Talbot County, and then Queen Anne's County also included in that. But if we're looking at the rotation, it's really right here, just coming on shore. Maybe a water spout there, making its way on land, becoming a tornado. Let me get the latest info on that. That goes until, it was issued at 12:55, goes until 1 a.m. It's capable of producing a tornado located over Copperville, 7 miles northwest of Easton. It's moving northeast at about 20 miles per hour. So I don't want to ignore the area south too, but we got an active night here turning out where we have two tornado warnings and a catastrophic flash flooding situation through parts of Baltimore City. So I'm going to try to bounce back and forth between both. Lots of lightning in this really indicates that this storm's pretty healthy here. If you look at reflectivity, it's going to be the same situation. That's going to be really tough to see. The amount of rain that's still falling inside that, visibility going to be a big problem where we have some concerns about even seeing this, not to mention how late at night it is. People asleep. I'm going to go over everything that we've been talking about in that northern tornado warning too. If you know someone in this area, give them a heads up. I know these storms are late and sometimes people sleep through them. That's when we get caught off guard. That rotation was near Copperville. It's now moving northeast, so I'd say at this point, getting close to Mill Creek, Dolvin area. Forgive me if I butcher some of these names. But I would say that the areas of greatest concern are just inside that amount of lightning, where we have that rotation right about there. I'll walk back over to our wall here to point a couple things out. Again, this goes until 1 a.m. We're looking at this storm spinning. The ingredients were there. It was a low-end tornado risk, but enough to get it going here tonight. Looks like a new severe thunderstorm warning cutting inside there too. This has been moving northeast at about 20 miles per hour, so likely we'll cross over to southern Queen Anne's County here in the next 20 minutes or so. But watching that storm, if you're inside that red box, lowest level of your house, put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. Sound like a broken record, but that's the kind of stuff that saves lives here in this situation where we do get a tornado. You just want to take precautions. Let me ride this one out. I'm very curious to see. This ends in 1 minute. Rotation looking really messy here. Going to take a look from a little bit better look here, but that's the radar that's farther away or getting to it, and we'll look higher up in the storm. But if there is rotation, it's right there close to Woodsdale. Let's go ahead and take your tornado precautions and just be safe with this storm system. Let me catch up on some text from our partners at the National Weather Service. Looks like the tornado warning will expire at 12:30. Circulation is weakened, but they're watching it closely because there's still a what we call mesocyclone or mesolow attached to this, which is just the precursor to a tornado. I'm sure a severe thunderstorm warning will come, and as we hit 12:30, sure enough, there it goes. So that tornado warning now clear. If you were in that tornado warning along I-95, you're okay for now, but we'll continue to monitor. I'm going to stay with you here tonight with the flash flooding situation that we have and this new tornado warning that's just crossing over into Queen Anne's County. It's mainly in Talbot County, but because it covers parts of Queen Anne's, I want to stick with this as it gets close to the area of rotation. Will eventually make its way to 50 right there. That would travel down to Easton. It's pretty close to Rise Up Coffee Shop. If I remember correctly, you know that area where you cross over the bridge here. You work your way over the island, down 50 through Queenstown. If you know that area, that's the area of rotation that's in place. Our velocity couplet, what we look for here, we have a camera on 50 just southeast of Queenstown. Let's go ahead and take that here real quick, see what we can see. So this is US 50 at Bloomingdale Road, US 50 west. You can just see the amount of rain that's falling inside there. Lightning, strong indicator that the storm has maintained itself really well. I don't see anything jumping out to me here. Sometimes we look for power flashes. You look on the horizon for transformers blowing if there is rotation inside that. Not seeing anything jump out at me, but thank you for bringing that. Keep an eye on that. If you see anything of note, just jump in my ear, let me know. Man, a good amount of people still out tonight. That's why I want to take this seriously. Still seeing a lot of cars come to and from. So here's Easton for reference. 50 that runs up, crosses over into Queenstown, eventually to Stevensville. That's the tornado warning that we have to southern Queen Anne's County into Talbot County. Our area of rotation's right here. That's green more moving toward the radar, red away from the radar as we look at that storm. Let me flip over to our Delaware radar, actually. Hopefully get a better look inside that storm system. Give me 1 second as we get a better look at this. There we go. That looks a lot cleaner. That's moving northeast. There's lots of lightning with this. If you're joining us, you're inside the metro area. You were watching because of that tornado warning earlier. Near Perry Hall, eventually toward Bel Air. That storm system is cleared. We have a severe thunderstorm warning still in effect for most of the eastern shore. I don't want to ignore the fact that we have a tornado warning north of Easton with rotation inside that, and not to mention a lot of lightning as well. Always respect that alone, let alone the tornado warning. And then this flashing green box that may be jumping out, Baltimore City is under a flash flood warning. They have tags associated with this. It goes up to considerable. In this case, it's catastrophic. That's the highest level that we can get. Your phone may have went off with that. Know that we've had some serious flooding problems in the Baltimore metro area, specifically downtown Baltimore and inside the Beltway. That rotation tightening up quite a bit. In fact, if we do have a tornado, that's one of the better looks that I've seen here tonight on velocity. As those colors brighten up, tighten a little bit more. So I'm going to stick with this storm system. Again, if we have a tornado, it's right there. Let me do a little bit other. Do some quick analysis, just catch up on some reading here. Bear with me. Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that here tonight. I'd stick with you here. Okay, so bigger severe thunderstorm warning. That goes until 1 a.m. And then the smaller tornado warning also goes until 1 a.m. It's Queen Anne's County, the southern portion of it. It's not into Queen Anne's County just yet. I'm talking about the area of rotation. The warning certainly is. But that's something that we're keeping a close eye on as this tracks northeast here late tonight. Plenty to keep an eye on. I would say the direction that it's going, Queen Anne, Ridgely, Greensboro, eventually over the next 20 to 30 minutes, storm's tracking more off to the east and northeast. Draw an arrow for you here. There's the direction that the storm is moving. Almost due northeast. It'll eventually cross 50, where 50 and 404 meet. If you're familiar with the area, it's this rotation here that is moving to the northeast, not to mention strong winds inside that too. Quick update for Baltimore City. You're still under that flash flood warning. Forgive me, jumping around a lot, I know. We'll go over to our reflectivity. It's still raining there, but not as bad as it's been. Problem is that when you fill up a lot of area rivers and drainage, it gets overwhelmed. So that's going to continue until 3:15. Flash flood emergency, particularly dangerous situation where we could see some serious problems, people being trapped in their cars. We've already seen that here tonight. Lots of calls to 911 where we have flooded roadways. I want to focus on the tornado warning for Queen Anne's County that goes until 1 a.m. Keep an eye on the eastern shore here. So we're watching that velocity from our Delaware radar, an area of rotation. These radar updates are going to come in every few minutes. So we're doing latest analysis as this comes in here tonight. There are a couple indications up front that make me think that the storm system is still very healthy. One, the amount of lightning inside this has maintained the storm system quite well. And then when we look at our velocity product, which is wind direction and speed, it's a sign that the storm's still spinning. There's the update that we were just talking about. Looking a little more messy, which is great news. A strong tornado would have a bright red and a bright green really close together. We're talking a few pixels if there's really tight rotation. So as this starts to fan out a little bit more, that makes me feel better that that area of rotation is broadening. Not enough to drop our guard here. If you're inside this tornado warning that goes until 1 a.m., it's time to take precautions as this tracks northeast. I drew a pretty big box on this, so Easton, if you're watching this, you're south of the rotation. If you're on the north side of Easton, I would certainly take precautions here. But know that you're in a better spot inside that warning box. I wouldn't be surprised to see a new tornado warning issued that just encompass part of the rotation that we're seeing, likely something like this here in the next, I'll say 10 to 15 minutes or so. When they issue these warnings, they usually go out about 30 minutes to cover the area where the storm could go and then reassess as it evolves and draw new warnings that more accurately capture where the storm is headed and specifically where that area of rotation is. Again, a larger severe thunderstorm warning box for most of the eastern shore. I don't want to ignore the fact that outside of this tornado warning, we have strong winds, 50, 60, 70 miles per hour. That would be the upper end. I think we're closer to the 60 mile per hour mark here. But the focus, the reason that we're wall to wall here tonight is for that tornado warning that's crossing over into Queen Anne's County. It'll be on the southern end of that, and lots of lightning with this system, not to mention heavy rain. I know there's always a few that want to get out and see a tornado. It's always a bad idea, but particularly in this case, I just want to discourage any kind of trying to go see this. With the amount of rain that we have, this tornado is going to be rain wrapped. It adds an element of obscurity to it. You won't be able to see it, not to mention how dark it is. That amount of rain that's falling is going to make it really tough. Can we check back in on that camera that's on Highway 50 as we get a radar update here? Rotation's still looking a little more messy, but sometimes eyes on the ground. I know I talk about not being able to see this, but what we can take away from this image, you see how much more the camera's shaking, not to mention the frequent lightning in the background there. This is US 50. Okay, so this is right where that intersection is that we pointed out earlier. This is 50 at 404. So if you're taking 50 north from Easton and you hit 404, then you head west to cross over the bridge. That's right at that intersection there. This is looking north. You see the bottom left there. What we can make out is traffic moving toward us. You see the headlights there. Man, that camera's really rocking. That's close to the area of rotation. If there is a tornado, it's pretty close to this look. It even looks like the camera's struggling to hold on as sort of cuts in and out. Boy, a light show down there tonight. Keep an eye on that camera. You see anything of note, let me know, but we'll check back in on that in just a minute. Let me flip back over to our radar product, and I'll put that on the ground. Here's 50. You get right up to 404. So that camera look we just took was right about there, looking north. So even on the wrong side of the system, if there is a tornado here, it'll be coming just south of where that camera look was. We were looking the other way. That'll be on the south end where that messy rotation is. It looked a lot better earlier. In fact, I'm going to walk back over to the computer here. We'll take you back in time where we saw that rotation tighten up quite a bit. I'm going to move this backwards. See how much better that velocity couplet is defined? The greens and the reds close to each other. That's where we had bigger areas of concern. I'm feeling better about this. Let me turn off the lightning just to get a better look. That looks really messy. That's good news. There's no doubt still some very strong winds inside that. So please take extra precautions there. Look at our other radar. Just getting some different perspectives. We have a few radars here at our disposal that we can keep an eye on, but I'm feeling better about that. I'm going to stick with it as long as that tornado warning is in effect. Certainly some strong thunderstorms. Heavy rain, parts of the eastern shore and the northern end of this. And then the tornado warning in effect and the severe thunderstorm warning in effect. Lightning all over the place, especially on the southern end of this. This system is moving slow. Here's the good news. If you're west of this, you're in the clear. Storms are pretty much across the bay, so if you're in the metro area, parts of Annapolis, we're clear tonight, and in fact, we'll really start to turn a corner. But the healthy side of this storm, on the east side of the bay, eastern shore, still showing signs of life with not only heavy rain, lots of lightning, which we have turned off at the moment. So many lightning strikes that it's hard to even see inside that, so I turned them off. And then an area of rotation. You often see a tornado warning form on the southern end of a storm system because it has access to a low-level jet. What I mean when I say that is winds aloft are working their way in from south to north, and that sometimes gives it a little bit of spin. On the end of a flank of a squall line, you can get some spin, and that's what we have here tonight. So again, that goes until 1 a.m. We've got about 19 minutes left on that warning, but that's getting pretty close to crossing its border. We'll see if something's reissued. I want to stick with this just to make sure that we have everyone that can see us covered in the storm system. I know it's late tonight, but I want to make sure that the people that are watching inside this get the latest information just in case this storm causes some problems to both property and people. Committed to keeping you covered here tonight. We'll turn back on the lightning strikes, which have been incredible. The count, in fact, 101 lightning strikes. That's in the last 10 minutes, and we're talking cloud-to-ground lightning strikes. Those are the kinds that if they hit houses, start fires, not to mention strong winds inside that yellow box, and the tornado warning still in effect, along with a handful of flash flood warnings. Interesting look here. See this little inflow, what we call an inflow notch? I'll walk over and point it out. That's what I was talking about earlier. When you get a strong in wind, when that feeds in, it starts to spin. So that'd be the area that we're concerned about here the most. If there is a tornado, it's likely being fueled off of that inflow notch right there. We're on our Delaware radar still, so I'll flip back over to our velocity product. Still looking pretty messy. I'm feeling better about the scans on the storm system. But again, I want to stick with it just out of an abundance of caution. As long as that tornado warning's in effect, I want to make sure that everyone's inside that warning gets the latest information. So we keep a close eye there. So that's getting pretty close to the 5404 camera. Can we take that again? Do we have that looking south by chance? Or does that only look north? If it looks south. Okay, let's take the north look. It's about the same as earlier. Lots of camera shaking. This is 50 at 404. So this is inside that tornado warning. It's the intersection that's pretty close to Newtown Square, if you're familiar with the area. This is Queen Anne's Highway and Ocean Gateway, if you know them by those names. 50 and 404, that intersection just north of the area of rotation. So that's what it looks like on the ground. You can see how hard it is to see inside that storm as this continues. Let me get the latest information. There was a new tornado warning issued on that. And they trimmed it a little bit more, so they tightened up that box. If we could flip back over to our radar product. Thank you so much. The latest text from the National Weather Service is that a severe thunderstorm warning capable of producing a tornado is located over Skipton. It's moving northeast at 15 miles per hour. That's the tough thing about these storms, is that they are just crawling. Radar indicated rotation, we're certainly seeing that here tonight. And let's go ahead and take your tornado precautions. It is looking a little messy, but just out of an abundance of caution, I want to make sure everyone is prepared. in case that does start to produce a tornado. But it is spinning, no doubt about that. We're seeing that on our velocity product. We're seeing the heavy rain inside this system, reflectivity, and lightning. That is the healthiest part of the storm, no doubt about that. If you're tuning in from the Baltimore metro area, or maybe you're in northeast Maryland, not only the city, but in the corner of the state, Elkton, right along 95, waking up, why is he not talking about our area? I know it's storming like crazy. We have heavy rain and some lightning inside that, but thankfully the winds haven't been too bad. Still respect the lightning, but our warnings are really here through the eastern shore, and then inside this larger severe thunderstorm warning, which is the yellow box, is that tornado warning, the flashing red. The healthiest part of this storm, the most dangerous part of this storm, is on the southern end of it. We often see that in lines of storms. Bookends, the end of these storms can start to spin, and there was enough evidence, certainly when it was crossing the bay, that there was some rotation in there. I want to ignore the fact that we have a flash flood emergency through downtown Baltimore. This is Baltimore City. We had heavy rain, 2, 3, 4 inches in the matter of an hour. Lingering effects of flooding often happen long after the rain moves on. You see a lot of drainage systems, riverways, any sort of spillways exceed their banks. So I would take it very carefully tonight. In fact, if you don't have to go out, don't. These storms are just about to clear the eastern shore. We're going to stick with you as long as this tornado warning's in effect, because it is crossing over into southern Queen Anne's County. I know people can get us in Easton and certainly north of there, so I want to make sure that we have everyone covered here. And I don't want to ignore anyone that is inside these warnings. Chestertown, heavy winds, strong winds, heavy rain, and then a new severe thunderstorm warning here on the north end of that. That does include Elkton. Just outside of northeast, it's Cecil County. That goes until 1:45. That's for strong winds. But the reason we're staying wall to wall here tonight is for that tornado warning. I'll say if you are inside that severe thunderstorm warning, still take precautions, but our focus here tonight is from the tornado warning. Pausing just a moment just to get updates from the National Weather Service. We'll continue to do analysis on this storm, which is showing broad area of rotation. So there's the spin, our velocity product again. If you're just joining us, what we look at here is wind direction and speed. This is a tool to look inside the storm. This is not one we use often. You never see this on a day-to-day broadcast. We break this out for severe weather because it's a way to dissect a storm system. Often we look at heavy rain, but of course with a tornado, you got to look at the wind. And what we see here is that wind is moving away and from the radar quickly in an area of tighter rotation, not to mention lightning strikes. Let's go back to that camera, because that area that we're looking is right there. Here's 50 at 4:04. Camera keeps cutting in and out, and that may be the iris on the camera naturally adjusting to the bright flash of the lightning, quickly irising down and then back up to catch the nighttime frame, sometimes these IR images, but it's tough to even tell what we're looking at here. I mean, clearly some lights in the distance. I'll occasionally see a car moving there. You can see one with his hazards on the left side of your screen, and then one coming up the screen here. Hazards clearly on there. If you don't have to be out tonight, don't. And I don't want to shame anybody. People get caught in storms. This is certainly happening. But if you know someone that was thinking, going out tonight, I know it's late, maybe they got to travel, this is just not one you want to get caught in. Likely a semi-truck there. You can often get the brighter lights to show up, and then one going the other way. It's been hazards all night tonight. And I don't just mean weather hazards. We're talking about hazard lights. His visibility is a big problem inside these storms. That's why we're not going to see the tornado. It's what we call rain-wrapped, and out of an abundance of caution, no surprise that there is a tornado warning, because you're not going to get visual confirmation on a storm like this tonight. Thank you for taking that camera. Again, keep an eye on that, but we'll flip back over to our velocity product here. So that's where we just took a look from that camera. That's 50. That's 4:04. I was even looking north. I mean, I think the area of rotation would be on the southern end of this. Likely those cars that were coming up 50, that semi-truck that you saw, might have went through the worst part of that storm. At least a testament that they made it out, which is great news. But that area of rotation is getting very close to the border here. We got 10 minutes left on this tornado warning. We'll see if they reissue it. I'm going to stick with it until it drops or we see a new one issued. I want to cover everybody here and make sure that we're keeping people safe. that do get caught in these strong, severe storms. New severe thunderstorm warning issued. Boy, that's a big box. That goes until 1:15 as we flip back over to our reflectivity product. So these storms have crossed over the bay, they've gotten to the eastern shore, and they've slammed on the brakes. We just haven't seen them move much in the past 15 to 20 minutes. Heavy rain going to become a concern? This is an area that's already pretty saturated. Of the entire state, the area that's seen the most rain has been northeast Maryland, the corner of the state, and the eastern shore. So this is already pretty saturated ground for heavy rain to be falling on. I wouldn't be surprised for some flash flood headlines to be issued here. Let's just go ahead and take those precautions. We'll double box it here. This is where I drive our radar system so I can move it. That's why I've been back and forth off camera a bit. Thank you for taking that double box there. But that's heavy rain falling inside that. I wouldn't be surprised to see some flash flood headlines here come soon. There's been energy for these storms to spin. Tornado warning on the southern portion of this. Area of rotation likely about to cross 404 here soon. It's just about to get outside the warning. Again, that goes until 1 a.m. We check in with our partners here at the National Weather Service. We have a chat system that we use to communicate back and forth. Just some information on that severe thunderstorm warning that's been issued. This is going to cross over into Delaware here pretty soon. But I want to stick with it as long as it's in our viewing area, and I know people in the Eastern Shore can see us. Most of these have just been coming in reports of the flash flooding that we have through Baltimore City. See that emergency tag in parentheses? That's the highest level of flash flood warning that we can get. That means situations so bad that we have very serious concerns about people and property, and that's going to go until 3:15. So even into the early morning hours, maybe the thunderstorms got you up and you're waking up. You got to get the kids ready for school here in the next, call it 6 hours. Maybe you're headed to work. These storms will be out of here. The lingering effects of the amount of rain that's fallen, and I'm sure we're going to see a lot of branches, tree limbs, things like that down inside that. We'll give it 8 more minutes. This tornado warning's still in effect. Area of rotation has been moving northeast pretty slowly at about 15 to 20 miles per hour at a time. Still pretty broad rotation at that too. But if you're inside that warning box and even ahead of the storm, go ahead and take your tornado precautions. If you're outside of that, I know Easton got alerted in that. This area of rotation is well out of the southern portion of this. So if you see your community in the southern end of that box, know that you're clear, but still some concerns about areas of rotation moving northeast. And then large severe thunderstorm warning boxes, the amount of lightning that we have inside this storm. We'll keep a close eye on this here for a few more minutes. Flip back over to our velocity product. Want to make sure that we're not missing anything. You can see some bright green showing up there. That's likely strong, damaging winds inside that. That's why that new severe thunderstorm warning was just issued. For the potential to take down large tree branches and power lines. Thankfully, no major power issues here tonight. Looking a little more messy, feeling better about this storm system. Would be surprised at this point to see a new tornado warning unless we see something pop up that's clear that this storm's still spinning, but a lot of the latest scans have been unimpressive as we keep a close eye on this. Just checking in. Okay, so I'm just getting word that the tornado warning will be allowed to expire, which is great news here. Still some severe thunderstorm warnings. I'm going to walk over to the wall for just a second and do one quick overview, and then we'll leave you with that here. So we have this tornado warning that's still in effect for another 6 minutes, but it's going to be allowed to expire. Just got that from the National Weather Service. I still don't want to lose sight that we have a flash flood emergency for Baltimore City. Highest level of flash flood warning that we can get. There's going to be problems even in the morning, especially areas that don't have great drainage. Know that that's going to be a significant issue. Lots of lightning and a handful of severe thunderstorm warnings. Keep a close eye on things here tonight, but our severe weather should start to ramp down as the storm moves out here in the next 30 minutes or so. We'll keep a close eye on things. I'll be sure to break back in just in case anything gets out of hand. That's the latest that we have for here tonight. Please stay safe. Remember, turn around, don't drown. Any flooded roadways, not worth trying tonight. Again, we'll watch things here closely. Keep it right here on WMAR 2 News for the latest updates on severe weather. And, of course, Good Morning Maryland. We'll be back with you in the morning hours to clean these storm systems up.